welcome to a very special edition of the Road to Cheltenham. Ruby and I are here, well, you can probably guess, the clue is in the title. And Cheltenham are getting ready for the big event, and we thought we'd come here. Why, Ruby, remind me?
Have a little walk around, Lydia.
Yeah.
A little look. See where you can point out where I went wrong all those years I was here.
I'm relying on you to be honest about that.
Don't you worry, I will.
So come down for the start of the Supreme. We've been collecting and milling around there, nerves jangling a little bit. We're on our way out to the start. Am I in a good or a bad position here?
You theoretically should end up on the inside, because as we go over and do the loop, you should end up on the rail. That's fine if everyone plays to the rules. But there are no rules.
I can see the floor here.
Of course you can see the floor. So again, you go all the way over by the camera and turn all the way back around. You will have had to have trotted to hold that position, and trotted quite quickly to get around the outside of everyone to get back to where you want to be. So I would always have gone in the position I'm in and made the turn a little bit tighter to suit where Ruby wanted to be. That's what I would have done. But look, that's not what you're supposed to do. That's bending the law without breaking it.
Why is it bending the law? What is it? Is that sort of unwritten rule?
I think it's a guideline more than a rule,
right.
You see, as far as I'm aware. Down we come, line up. Now the first hurdle is not that far away. I think it's a great thing. Cheltenham one of the first courses to do it, but because the first hurdle is quite close, most people want to get a look at the first hurdle. So you will see a huge spread on the width of horses because they haven't got much time to get there, and that eases a little bit of the pressure. And then obviously from the first, as you can see, all the way to the second, it's such a long run that you have time to get yourself into the position you want to be in Cheltenham. And that's why you say, what you need in Cheltenham, a horse with a bit of pace. If you have a bit of pace, even if you sort of miss the break, don't fly the first. Because of that long run from the first to the second, you have the speed to move yourself into the position you want to be in. And a slow horse can get caught out.
And what, say, would be the difference between the Supreme, we just imagined the Supreme start there, and the Champion Hurdle 3 races later?
3 races later, most likely the guys riding in the Champion Hurdle will have ridden in the Supreme or the Arkle, and that bit of fizz has gone out of them, that bit of excitement, so they're more concentrated, a little bit more relaxed, and the tempo has relaxed a little, so it'll be a much smoother start to the Champion Hurdle. That could change this year.
Field's usually smaller as well,
Yeah.
but not necessarily this year.
No, 20 odd runners probably in this Champion Hurdle, or there could be as many as 20 runners, and you know, with the exception maybe one or two, a lot of people thinking they could be placed, some thinking they might even nick a Champion Hurdle. So the Champion Hurdle this year could be quite competitive down here. That will suit some, the staying types maybe, although you saw in the Champion Hurdle that Any Power won, where the staying horses were the first ones beat. Because of the pace she could go, only My 10 to Yours and one or two others could actually keep up with her, and the slow horses were completely on their head. This year's Champion Hurdle, with no real standout other than maybe Epitant, it could be a messy race.
So the second race of the festival is the Rsa Chase. Moving on to the chase course, Ruby, first fence there, at the moment covered up. What's different about the start for the Arkle and the Champion Chase the following day compared with the Champion Hurdle and the Supreme?
Well, it's where you go, Lydia, at the back of the second fence. It's a straight line here now, straight down to the first, down to the second, but then you have to move out to the old course for the second last and the last, taking as fences 3 and 4. So when you line up on this course, there's not as much emphasis on being slapped down the inside, because you are making that manoeuvre all the way across, especially for the ones on the front end. If the guy that bucks out down the inside, he has to really ping the first 2 fences to hold his line in front out onto the old course. So when you get a couple of keen ones like the Arkle, say a Cashback, a Fakir Dudari who'd be pushed forward, a Notebook who'd like to be ridden forward.
Global Citizen, would it be another?
Yeah, it would be another. So if you're out a bit, you have more options. If you go down the inside, you are committed to attacking those fences and being across and holding your line. Whereas if you're out, if you jump better than the one on the inside, you can easily close the door on him, or if he's flying, you can easily slot back behind him. It's a much easier track if you ride it a bit wide over the first 2.
So let's talk about the Rsa Chase, shall we, Ruby?
We will indeed. They come in on the outside of the second last fence, back onto the old course and jump the last, which is first. Look, it's a tight enough start, but you don't traditionally get huge fields in an RSA. But when you jump the first fence, it is a sharp enough turn away into the countryside. But that turn is even sharper, Lydia, over hurdles. If you pick up the last hurdle, you see the inside 1, 2, 3 sections. When you jump that, it's a very sharp turn to meet the race out into the countryside.
Yes.
And horses that jump to their right, like Appa's Jade in last year's champion hurdle, if you jump right at the last hurdle when it's taken as the second hurdle, you give away huge ground. And a horse that can jump a bit to his left or turn quickly can get onto this running rail and out to the country a lot quicker.
And just coming back to the RSA start there, I know it's day 2 of the festival and it's not quite as nervy as, say, the Supreme, but it's very close to the stand. Does that have an effect?
It is, but you're right down in front of the carpet. And it's the second race in the card and they're still having lunch.
If you see them at all. So we come to the fence on the old course, which is the first one past the stands. It's fence 5 in the Arkle and the Champion Chase, and you mentioned it earlier.
I did, because of horses that jump right, and it's because you're coming off the running rail before the fence that fence tends to throw you out to where we're standing on the hurdle track. So for horses that are jumping right, the ground they can lose here is exasperated even?
Exacerbated.
Exacerbated, is that the word?
That's the chappie.
That's the one. Exacerbated, according to Lydia, by the angle of the fence. So it throws you out this direction. That could be inconvenience to Notebook. We saw him going right at the third last in Leopardstown, which is at a similar angle to this. I think it's more of an issue being the 5th fence. If he loses ground here to Fakir Dudari and Cashback, who are more than likely going to be on his inside, they'll scoot round the bend and he'll have to chase them down the hill.
Okay, let's move on before you get exasperated with me.
Lydia, you jump the last hurdle and you climb all the way up away from the stands. Now you're leaving the noise behind you, but on the old course, this is a fair climb, and in Champion Hurdle, Supreme, those sort of races, even the Mayor's Hurdle, it'll slow considerably all the way up to here. But when you get on top, right about there, it shoots down into the back straight, and horses get a lot of momentum down here, and it's a quick injection, so the race will slow up here and quicken down there.
It's really noticeable actually, the height of this point and the climb there and how much you can roll on down.
Exactly, and even if you look in, you don't climb as high on the old Chase course, you climb less on the Hurdle new course, and you climb even less on the Chase new course. So this is the camber of Cheltenham. This is where the camber is most noticeable, and you're on the outside camber on the old Hurdle course. But because you climb so high, the Hurdle races on the old course slow and quicken way more than the Chase races on the new track, which doesn't quite climb and drop as much, especially in the early parts. I passed up here on, I think it was Mellon or Mean, and I was in front, and I could hear Davy Russell roaring sort of 4 or 5 people back.
Can you make an impression of that roar?
No. He was roaring at the guys in front, don't let him slow it down. I was slowing the race down up here, and he was roaring at them, and David Bass appeared up on my outside in Sharbal and injected pace back into the race. I was trying to slow it right down to get as big a breather as I could into my horse, but Russell wasn't happy riding his own, wanted to ride David Bass's and sent him forward as well. The people that have found themselves slightly out of position early on the old course will try and make ground downhill, down here. Not the best thing to do.
Why?
Because everything can run downhill at the same speed. I mean, even you go to pass someone, all you're doing is pushing them all forward. So you should in theory wait till you get down to jump that hurdle and get on the level before you go to make your positions, because you're only wasting your own energy. You should be saving energy running downhill, down here, not trying to make ground.
And have you seen, riders go?
You see it loads of times, but to me that's the trick of riding, not the trick, but that is the challenge of riding somewhere like Cheltenham. It's how to use the downhills and how to use the uphills, and you just take what your horse is giving you going downhill. You shouldn't make ground and take a bit out of them, because everybody else is filling up and you're using energy.
So how much of a disadvantage do you think it is for a jockey to be riding here for the first time, or is ridden here very infrequently?
I think Irish jockeys have a big advantage because of the likes of Tramore, Clonmel, Downpatrick, all those tracks that you have to go to and learn how to ride, huge undulations. Guys who ride Carlisle, Towster, riding undulating tracks, they're all the same. You never ride up a hill, you shouldn't kick down the hill. That's where you learn your trade. And to me, Cheltenham was only like being at a much bigger, grander Tramore, Clonmel or Downpatrick. This is one of the trickier fences. You don't see a huge amount of fallers, but it does ride an awkward fence. If you let them run down here and they get too close and touch it, because of the drop on the backside, it can be a tricky fence. Now, ideally, people love to be to the inside. Oh, he's safe on the ground.
That's where you are.
Yeah, but when you get banged down the inside here, the drop on the other side is bigger. So if you can be out a little bit, and see the way it hovels off on the takeoff side as well? It's a bit leveler out here. If you can drift out a couple, the drop isn't as bad either.
I've seen you, I've often wondered why you did that approaching this fence, and you've explained it all. I have seen you do that, I've seen him do that. This is the 8th fence in the Champion Chase and the Arkle. Why is it significant?
Because it's the first ditch, and people say, oh, the first ditch, big jump. You've so much jumping done by the time you get to here that it really doesn't matter. And it's actually the next ditch, the last ditch, that's of more significance. The ditches right great, they've been filled in, there's no longer the drain in them that they used to be. It's just level with the ground. Some horses do jump them a bit differently, but they're so warmed up by here, it shouldn't make any difference. Right, that's the first hurdle in the back straight in shot, but when you land over that is then the levelest part of Cheltenham. So you've had all that ground, almost a half a mile, to get yourself into the position you want to be in. Because when you get to where we are now, Lydia, and you turn off this bend, you start to climb again, and you can't make ground then. You have to be in position here, and you have to jump this hurdle, and get a good jump at this hurdle.
So when you were talking about that's not the place to make position when you're rolling downhill, this was the time when you would have made a move if you needed to?
You do. If you get closer, you move on the level. You move on the level where every horse is using the same amount of energy. So you move on the level, so you get yourself into the position that you want to be in here. Off that, between that H marker, on this little strip of ground here, on the turn, you get to where you need to be. If you can ping this hurdle, it just gives you the opportunity to sit up onto the top of the hill to get one proper lungful of air before you turn and shoot for home.
So, tell me about what went wrong with this.
We said that the first ditch wasn't of massive importance, and the reason this one is because it's the fourth last, but it's what's behind it. It's how sharp your eyes away from the back of it. So you can ping this ditch, you can sit up onto the hill. The guy that makes the mistake has to land and squeeze immediately to hold his position, therefore draining his horse in the next 50 yards as he climbs up the hill. Now look, I've tried different things here. Went there on Alpha off in an Arkle, Sprinter Sacra on my outside, Q Card on my inside. Barry Geraghty was sort of half a length behind me maybe, and I remember thinking and going to it, this is my chance to get him at it. I went for a big jump on Alpha off, we didn't make it, he landed in the middle of it, but Sprinter Sacra took off at the same time as me, from behind me, and landed in front of me. And I remember thinking, what was I at in the first place? He was just in a different league as a 2 mile chaser to Alpha off, but look, it is important. If you can get a really good jump here, it can just put you in the control where you want to be. We're climbing literally to the top of Clevefield before you turn back for the grandstand and descend for home. But this is the one part of the race where it can be a lot of traffic. And it's because the horses in front, maybe some of the lesser horses getting a bit empty, they're starting to stop, they're coming back on top of the horses who are moving forward from behind. And if you are like where you are now, Lydia,
I'm getting
half
squeezed
a
up on
length
the
down
rail.
on me, that's what happens.
I just don't have the pace or the ability to hold my position.
You weren't even thinking.
No.
You needed to be in front of me, but that's what happens, and it happens up here, and that's where it can often pay to, if you're coming from behind, be a little bit wide to here, because all the traffic will be on the inside, and getting stopped on this climb it's impossible to recover from it. If you can move a smooth run wide here is way better than a choppy run in.
So when have you been on the right and the wrong side of that here?
Oh, I've been out there on Briar Hill and I walked a treat from in a bumper on the wrong side of it. So many times, Lydia, we haven't got long enough to say it. But you could get caught in there. The traffic, it all falls in. Very lucky on York Hill the year he won the Neptune. He was ignorant enough himself that he made the room, but he should have got stopped.
He was on the inside, was he?
Yeah, and the rail was bouncing and he kept boring into the gap, but this is the hardest, the roughest part of the race in Cheltenham. It doesn't happen in the county. It's rough here in the Coral, very rough here in the bumper, can be rough here in the Supreme. Champion tends to have sorted itself out, but in handicaps and the bumper here especially.
I reckon if you're looking for someone to go left, York Hill's your man, isn't he?
He is, but he actually wants them to go right to hold a bit of room for himself.
I love York Hill, he's so perverse.
Right, we've climbed all the way up, hopefully got through the traffic on the bend, but when you turn here and begin to face back down, if you're in front and you're trying to dictate the race, you have to go a little bit to keep the riders behind you happy, because they're going to want to go. So you go a little bit to 3 out, jump it, go another little bit and sit again to 2 out. Now you can't commit from here. If you kick off the top of this hill, you will not get all the way back to the top of it. So that's where you're trying to dictate it. Ideally, if you're behind, you want to see them going in front. If they go in front, you can think, all right, lads, bye-bye, I'll see you below at the bottom. But you have to be able to go to keep other riders happy, so you hold your position, but you have to keep saving a bit too.
I think it's become so clear to me now, the difference between the old course and the new course, and why you need tactical, manoeuvrable speed. I understand so much more now.
I'm glad you do.
Let's say my comments are better in future.
No. But it is more tactical, and you saw, obviously ground is a factor too. When you used to get good to firm ground here, of course you could roll from here. But once they started water and it got slower, you just can't maintain it from here. We're 6 furlongs back to the winning post from here. It just can't be maintained, even if 2 of that is downhill.
So we're at a similar point to where we just were on the hurdles course. What's the pace like here on the chase course?
Doesn't seem to be the same rush off the top of the hill over fences, and that's probably because of the size of the fence awaiting you down there in a furlong's time, and because it's downhill. Even though they have levelled the back of it, people don't want to get too much momentum down there to pitch their horse out in their head. Now, when there was 2 fences down there, one where that white van is crossing, there used to be one there as well. I think they even went a bit slower down here, but because there's only one, people are pushing the boundaries a little bit. A really good jump, if you can roll and wing that, it gets you all the way to the bend.
We're now 2 out on the hurdles track in the old course, 2 out for the champion hurdle or the supreme.
Yeah, and look, it's we explain it from the other side, but from this side, it's very hard for the horse in front, the jockey on the horse in front, to ride right against the inside rail, because there is the option after the fence for the horse to duck the wrong side of that running rail. So the one in front will often ride a half to 3/4 of a horse weight off the inside. Now, it can encourage guys to poke down your inside. So when you meet the running rail, if you're in front, you just close the door again. It's an unwritten rule. The guy in front can't ride the rail tight, so he has to keep out a little bit. You shouldn't be going there, and if you're thinking about going there, you should be gone there before he knows you're there. You can't be half thinking, am I going to go in there or not? So the hurdle rides is slightly on the uphill. Has been a few famous fallers there, champion hurdles in the past, been a few chamazes in supremes, but generally it rides well, and when you land, it's time to start going. Off the bend, Lydia, look, it's all about glory now. And look, I know in the winter time people round off this bend and head for the outside running rail, but not at the festival. You're on that new strip of ground, so you're keeping for the inside. You can obviously hear the noise, even though you're not really paying attention to it, but that hurdle's a long way up, but it's going now, because you look, best horse wins in Cheltenham. It's going to stay or it's not. If you round off this bend on the bridle, end of the running rail, set sail, best horse is going to win.
And although television obviously foreshortens it, you can feel and you can see the climb.
Yeah, but you should have foreseen the climb when you're up on top of Cleeve Hill. That's what you have to preserve down. So when you jump to second last, take whatever momentum you have off the bend here, and then you go. And that is why non-stayers don't win. But you can't make them stay either.
So we're on the home turn. The 2 out on the old course of the chase used to be up there. Now it's round this bend, but I can't see it.
I know, but now to me it's an attacking fence. So you round off the bend like we are now, and to me you saw Defy the Saw in the Slur Chase, Duvan when he won an Arkle. To me this is an attacking fence now. You round off the rail, and as soon as you get straight, just commit. You can't see the stride from here.
Yeah.
The guy that says, I saw it 17 strides away. Yeah, right, he's bluffing. You can't, but you commit, because it's either going to be long or longer. But with the momentum you should have had if you're in front, that stride should be there. Just go for it.
Okay, so 2 out here is tricky wherever it is on the old course. It was tricky there because it took some finessing.
It took some finessing. This is an attacking fence.
Right, okay, so hence you will have mistakes.
But you round off here and just keep going for it. You'll find one.
Well, you can see the prize. 1 fence left to jump in the old course to win the champion chase, or the Arkle, or the RSA.
Yeah, and a lot of those races, Lydia, tend to have clear-cut winners, but a lot of them, there doesn't seem to be that much trouble at the last fence here. I lucky enough, Denman masterminded, has Zertiup, he's done Dara to win a William Hill. There's been some great winners here. Sprinter, Sacra, Altior, brilliant jump here last year. I think this year's champion chase though, there won't be 1 miles in front of the others, and these 2 fences as a pair could be key.
Members of this place, probably not some good ones here. to be fair.
Yeah, and bad ones, but you're going to have them too. But great memories in the Supreme, and it was always great to win the Supreme. But this hurl has moved in recent times. Before the change of whip rules, that used to be the winter position. It's now the spring position, and that hurdle used to actually be this side of that fence.
Yeah.
It has been moved on, which makes the run from the bend to here that bit longer. But
has it changed the character of the champion hurdle Supreme?
Don't think so. No. But yeah, it probably has changed the finish a little bit. You don't see as many horses getting up from the back of the last, whereas before Alfaroff jumped at 4th to win a Supreme, Nolan jumped at 2nd or 3rd to win a Supreme. I think now what lands in front tends to get home. Maybe not in the Coral Cup. If you have Nicky's horse coming from the clouds, what do you call him?
Oh yeah.
The horse that won that game, Spirit.
William Henry.
William Henry. God knows where he was in last year's Coral Cup. But no, it doesn't change too much. I've had some disappointing days here too. Annie Power, Benny the Jew, Adamant Approach, but that's racing.
So whether it's the old course or the new course, which we'll do later on, the hill is still pitiless and races still change here.
They do, and look, the fence is obviously further back than the hurdle, but not as much as they used to over hurdles anyway, Lydia. I don't think as many hurdle races changed in the back of that last hurdle. Like in the winter time, you'll see them right over again the outside rail. Festival time, you'll see more horses bombing up the middle, and it is one of the greatest feelings in the world to scoot up here 3 or 4 in front with that place just lit up for you. I was lucky enough to do it a load of times. What do I think this year? I think Shiskin will suit up before Fakir Dudaris. Don't William Hill probably have a cup of tea before I hope one of Willie's wins the champion hurdle.
The ultimate man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it is. And how about when you've got the fear? Let's say you've jumped the last and you've got every chance, but you've got the fear that it's all going wrong underneath you.
That you're starting to empty. I always tried harder. There was no point. I mean, it was, to me, it was, even if you didn't breathe, just get it there. Get it there, keep trying. And the fear, to me, when I was worried about it, I'd stop looking for the winning post. I'd just keep trying harder and hoping when my head was in front, and then I'd look up. Am I here?
And is there any time where you were actually quite surprised that you won?
Maybe surprised Final Approach got there, definitely. But I was equally as surprised Champagne Fever got beaten.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Still surprised now. So it's Thursday and Cheltenham moves to the new course. We're focusing first of all though on the hurdles track and thinking about the first race of the last day, which is the Triumph. 2 mile one, different track. Just pray see what the difference between this, the new course, compared to the old course that we've seen.
It's galloping. There's obviously the same amount of hurdles, but I think for me it's galloping, the amount of galloping and where the galloping is, and it's more prevalent in the latter half of the race. But you can see the first hurdle, and when you look all the way into the distance, the hurdle between the fences is the second hurdle. Now the run from the first to the second is so far, especially for 4-year-olds, but that's the nature of the race, and it's a stamina track, and it becomes way more prevalent from the top of the hill back down, and you've got to make that run for a second time, and it's against the hill, and that's where the stamina comes into play.
And how does it impact the start of the Triumph?
I think definitely one of the bonuses of a 4-day festival has been the introduction of the Fred Winter, in that an old-fashioned Triumph is a 30-runner race, and it was a lottery. The Triumph is a genuine Grade 1 now. Yeah. It doesn't have as big a field, and even with the ground management in Cheltenham, if you look down where myself and Lydia are standing, where the horses have raced here in January and at Trials Day, but you look all the way in at all the fresh ground they have kept for the festival for the Thursday and Friday, because there's so much fresh ground, there's no massive advantage to being in or out, and it makes for a very fair race.
And that impacts on the different tactically compared to races at Cheltenham earlier in the year?
It does. Earlier in the year when you're railed out, because they're saving the inside ground, you can race wider because the outside running rail isn't that far away from you. You can tack over to it, whereas at this meeting you have to keep in. You can't go wide.
No Paddy Brennan route in this meeting?
Not this time of year.
No. So we've come to round about the Gold Cup start, and you're going to have to use the power of your imagination, although I'm sure we can provide some visual clues as well, because Cheltenham is currently set up as the old course, and we're talking about the new course here. And take it away, Ruby.
Those running rails directly in front of us are actually the home turn for the old course, but they will be all removed by the Thursday at Cheltenham, and that is what is the second last and last, but in the Gold Cup is also the first and second. It's a great start, Lydia. It's perfectly fair. There's loads of space to get in, to get the position you want to get in. The 2 fences are taken on the incline. There's 2 fences as well, so jumping is important. But whatever happens with the actual break, because you have 2 fences, 2.5 furlongs, you can get yourself into the position you want to be in. Look, the best race should have the best start, and this one has it. Lydia, as you can see from the camber of the track, we're in here on the Gold Cup track on the inside. The first time round in the Gold Cup, the race has pretty much taken shape. Again, it gets to here, and that race tends to stay in that formation for the whole of the first circuit till you get back around here on the second circuit, come off that bend up there in the distance. You're running ever so slightly downhill, but this is where the Gold Cup goes up a gear, and what you start to notice is horses drifting out the back of the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is a race of who can sustain the pace for the longest. It's not a race of stop, start and quickening. I only rode in 1 or 2 that were that way. The majority are end to end and who can maintain it. But horses will start to just drift out the back of the Gold Cup, and it's from here that you'll see that every fence you'll see one more just dropping away.
And we were on the old course earlier. You were showing me the height of that fence and saying that fence that is nearby here, that it was quite tricky. How does it compare over here?
No, it's not over here. Here, this fence, the drop is nowhere near the same. It's only
it's
two under my chin, whereas it's a little over my chin on the other one. So, no, there is a big difference. But that's the camber of the track, and that's just the nature of Cheltenham and knowing the difference between the old and the new and whereabouts you are on them.
And now we're switching to think about the Stayers Hurdle, which is a race that we haven't yet spoken about.
No, and it starts there where you're looking, at the top of the hill into the back straight and runs all the way down to the first hurdle. There's been a few casualties at the first. Running downhill to the first isn't ideal, but the Stayers Hurdle is 3 miles, so that's where the start is on the hurdle course. And you can see first, second, and just around the corner is the third. For a track with little jumping, 3 of them come at you really quick in a hurdle race. And, a good rhythm early, can string a field out, but it's not of huge consequence. Big Bucks was brilliant at it because jumping wasn't his forte, and most of the jumping is down on this side of the track.
And if we think about the last 2 years, last year it was a well-paced Stayers Hurdle. 2 years ago everybody thought it was going to be run at a strong pace, and it really wasn't. Is that decided here straight away, or is it something that develops?
It can be, but that could be a tactical race this year. If I was riding it, I would be definitely looking to make it a tactical race, because the only way you're going to beat Paisley Park is mug 'em. So there's no way I would be jumping out to go end to end like we did last year. We tried it last year. I rode Fahey in the race, Sam Spinner went to go gallop, and we went and dragged him, and it was his most impressive performance. So for my money, they have to do it the other way around this year. So make Aidan Coleman go and do that if he wants, but if I was blow at the start, I'd be behind him. This where we're standing right now is a 2 miles and 5 furlong start, and it's straight across the middle. It is a great start. 1, 2, 3 fences. Happy days. On a good jumper you get a good position, but the 2.5 mile start is at the back of the first fence, so you only jump 2 of them. For the Rsa Chase you start at the back of it. On the first day of the festival you will be in the vicinity for the Mayor's Hurdle, but it too is only 2.5, so it starts at the back of the first hurdle where you jump 2 hurdles. Now for the Coral Cup, the hurdle in the distance, the third one, is gone. There's only 2 hurdles across here, first and second. That furthest hurdle is out. It has to be there for the Mayor's Hurdle to bring up the required number of hurdles to be jumped in a race. So it's only there for the Mayor's Hurdle. It'll be gone after that. You'll have 2 across here in the Coral Cup. My least favourite race of the whole meeting.
The Coral Cup?
Yeah,
why?
Absolutely hated it.
Why?
30 runners out here, round that corner. It was like, I don't know, it was like being a ball on one of them ping pong machines. Just across the middle there, flat to the boards, 30 handicappers, everyone wanting to be in the first 6. It was just nightmare.
Looks easy enough, this.
It is, isn't it? It's obviously a bit smaller on the landing side than the first in the back straight. Look, we did say how far into a champion chase or an arcal it is before you get to a ditch. On the new course in the Gold Cup, this is the 5th. 2 plain, went down the hill, water jump, ditch, comes up a bit quicker, but horses, Gold Cup horses, they don't even bat an eye at a ditch.
I could jump this.
And look, you jump, could you? Have a go. You jump it twice, obviously, but again, like the other course, Lydia, the next ditch is more important.
Yeah, okay. Head first, I think I'd do it.
Out of a plane.
So we're standing on and looking back from the 5th last in the Gold Cup, looking at the 6th last.
Yeah, and those white railings were, of course, the old course turning and beginning to run for home. But we're on the new course and we've just gotten to the top of it. Actually, it's level to where the H marker there is on the Chase and hurdle course before it turns. Now it's still going for Cleve Hill. Before it turns, runs to the 4th last, fence, and then starts to slope all the way home. But we're here at the 5th last in the Gold Cup. You've already jumped 3 out in the triumph hurdle.
I know, it's extraordinary that, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you've 5 to jump. That's the 5th last. The 3rd last hurdle on the new course is back there. It is such a stamina track from here home over hurdles and over fences. The slope is so much more gradual and you get to the bottom of it with so much more hill to climb home.
I definitely understand why the Triumph is so much of a test of stamina, but as I stand here and I look at that bend and I think about the new course being more galloping than the old course, I'm surprised because it looks quite sharp. Is it actually quite sweeping?
It is, but even if you turn back that way, the climb is more so, Lydia. You've jumped the ditch and the 5th last up against the hill, whereas on the old course you've only jumped the 4th last against the hill.
Yes.
It's what you have to do on this climb is more significant than how sharp this bend is over here.
Okay, I get it now, yeah.
Lydia, this is probably, and it's been moved once or twice, but I still find it the trickiest fence on the track. It's the 4th last, Ryanair, Gold Cup, etc. But we're running slightly downhill. We've come off the top of Cleve Hill, we've dropped 8 or 10 feet already to here, and it comes off a bend. Now the run up to it, it looks plenty far away as we're walking, but that's only 8-10 strides on a horse's back. It's not that far at racing speed. So when you get off here, this is where you have to trust your fence and you have to be 100% committed to whatever you're doing. You can't go here thinking, will I go long, will I go short, will I, won't I? This fence will catch you out. You turn off here, put it on its hocks and just hold him or her, and it's up to the horse to look where it's going and react to you. But you just got to sit and hold them. If you send in here and they don't pick up, they'll turn over because of the drop. You pull them back too much, they get a bit close, the drop will turn them over. The momentum from here, the drop on the far side. So you've literally got to get contact, get your horse balanced and let your horse jump this for you.
And given that it's so crucial to be decisive here, has there been quite a bit of jostling on that bend?
No, I don't know what it is about this course because of this fence. Everyone tends to be cautious around here. Everyone is waiting for this. They know what's coming. No one seems to go poking for a gap or injecting pace. Everyone waits till they get to the back of this. Everyone's aware of how many fallers there are here, how many races have been lost here. Everyone's aware of that.
And should you be here rather than there?
If you can, because it does throw you ever so slightly right. What you don't want to be doing is going left because you'll hit the horse coming on the inside of you. Lydia, they're starting to run downhill, stairs hurdle, triumph hurdle, and guys are starting to want to get a bit closer. But because there's no fence, it can be a bit tighter here, and people are pushing forward and nudging forward. But as you'll see, we get around to this fence, it's still so far to the second last, and people are pushing forward and pushing forward. I used to love it when I was dropped in, thinking, go on, go a bit, get racing, push the guys in front of you. Because if they get racing out here, as hard as it is to go from the top of the hill on the old course, it's impossible out here. We're on the run down to 3 out on the new course to the second last hurdle, but if you look at the ground more so than the jumps, you'll see the inside racing line that has been kept fresh for the festival. The middle line that's a bit churned was used at the December meeting, New Year's Day, and the trials track. You move out the fresh hurdle track that's been kept, and you go out again to what they use in those 4 meetings. That's track management. That is right, this is our festival track, there's our winter tracks, festival winter, and that's where people have to race at the festival, is down here. Horses going right, they want to go wide, are going out on very old and very used ground, but that's not the racing line. This is the racing line down here.
So we've had the tricky 4th last, and now we've got the 3rd last, and some dreams have ended here. And the one I suspect that most people remember, look away now, Paddy, is Q Card in the Gold Cup when he was going for the Triple Crown.
I'll come to your rescue, Paddy. Stephen Conti lay down here with me as well, and Anna fell off Rinkery. Plenty of dreams have ended here in Gold Cups. It is taken downhill. Stamina is starting to kick in a little bit as well. Q Card never won a Gold Cup. You often wonder, why did I fall at the third last? I often think horses are just starting to feel a pinch and can't get away with a mistake that they might have got away with earlier in the race. But look, it is a fair fence, and it is a test. It's the Gold Cup, it should be there. And when you jump it, there's a long, still, slow run down. So when you jump that, even if you jump it well, you can still get a good breath, or you can still sit and control the race till you meet the rising ground. And if you can get to the level before you have to squeeze, you have a chance of winning.
These are always the fences that really bother me when I'm watching. So 4 out and 3 out. Like, so when you were riding Jacques Adam, for example, and I was still dreaming the dream that Jacques Adam could win a Gold Cup.
Yeah, me too.
It's just that, when you're watching, and sometimes I'm sure you'll be like this at home as well.
Yeah, but I jumped that a few times and thought I'd win a Gold Cup. I jumped it on Cauto, the year-long run one, thinking he'd win. I jumped it on Comanche Court, your best mate won his first Gold Cup, thinking I could win a Gold Cup. I definitely jumped it twice, if not 3 times, on Jacques Adam, thinking I could win a Gold Cup. But none of them ever won.
No, because it's
just so much changes, and it's not even here. It's when you get down to where that roadway is, as you can see in the distance, and you've met the rising ground and got level, that's where it all changes, and the cream just rises.
So finally, we're at the second last on the hurdles course for the Stayers Hurdle or the Triumph.
Yeah, and it's in a good position, and to be honest with you, a good jump here isn't going to be the winning and losing of the race. It's still so far from home. A to B just fine. And when you land, Lydia, it's more what you do here that's more important, because it's so tempting to kick forward, follow the horse in front, but you have to resist the temptation of moving till you get to the end of that runner.
So in the epic saga that is from 3 out to the line in the Triumph Hurdle, where are we now?
Well, we're standing right beside the second last fence, but from where you've turned in just after the second fence on the 2 mile start, we've come all the way to here, yet the last hurdle is still a furlong away.
It's so stark, isn't it? Just how
I know, but it's
little.
just, and look at the climb. You've climbed for a furlong and a half, 2 here, and you've another furlong to climb. That's just so much galloping in the hurdle race that you see why Triumph horses end up 3 milers.
If Jamie Moore is thinking Goshen might go to his right, is he going to be wanting to swing there?
Now you can get over, because there's only so much width they have, but there is fresh ground in here. It will have been used on Thursday as well. Will it still be fresh on Friday? That'll be a toss of a coin. He can get over there, and when you get in a stamina race like this, a running rail can be a huge help to you. Second last Gold Cup, Ryanair, whatever, you're on the new track.
Come on.
Yeah, whichever race though, even a JLT or Rsa Chase it is now, Undersaw shot through, or not Undersaw, York Hill even, shot through on the inside of Small Horse and Nicky's, top notch, yeah, to ping this and win it. Undersaw absolutely pinged it when he won the Ryanair and flew the last. Comanche Court came down here in front of best mate, got in front roundabout here, pricked his ears and paddled on top of it, lost a length or 2, got beat a length in the Gold Cup. I always wished he's the one ride if I had in this place again. He's the one horse I would ride here again.
Really?
That Gold Cup, yeah, without doubt. It was the one time that I tactically did something that was wrong that I could change. I committed off the bend to go and join Seymour Business, wondering whether best mate would stay or not. He hadn't won a Gold Cup at the time, but Comanche propped here, Seymour Business drifted right, best mate jumped through on the inside, rest is history. If I could have 40 seconds of my riding career back, that'd be the 40 seconds I'd want.
Out of every single ride?
Yep. All here.
How often do you think about that?
Quite regularly.
We jumped the second last in the Gold Cup. We're heading towards the last. Think back.
Yeah, Cauto was a couple of lengths in front of Exotic Dancer the first time. Made it a bit tight, got to the back of it and loads left. He'd won it with a brilliant jump at 2 out, which had sealed the deal. Second time around he was powering clear, and he was going more forward at a more even keel, and I could keep the revs up on him and he pinged it. But yeah, look, it was a lucky track for me. I mean, York Hill got a bit close to it and he won a JLT. Vatour flew it, but I can remember looking up, they put a big screen in recent years sort of over the top of that white van.
Yeah.
And when I came here on Undersaw in the Ryanair, without ever having to look back, I could see that the Jigginstown horses were closing, and I knew I had to ride hard at the last on him, and he flew it.
Last obstacles on the new course, on the chase course, a bit further back, hurdles course nearer the line.
Different memories for me. I remember landing there on Cawdor Star in the first Gold Cup, thinking that winning post would never come. Landed there in his second one, knowing he'd won, enjoying it all the way up there on Comanche Court, chasing best mate, hoping it wouldn't come. I was starting to get going again. Different races, different days. Big bucks, getting at Punchestown and getting by him. Nichols Canyon last year, riding a 4-timer on Let's Dance, and knowing crossing here that she was going to win and I was going to ride 4, and getting there on York Hill and thinking, don't pull up on me in a JLT, so different emotions. But look, what way do you see it? What do you see it this year? Whatever we're going to think, Lydia, we're going to see great races. I think without doubt we'll see Paisley Park prick his ears, pop the last, and start to get running here and scoot away again. I think we will see a Plutar outstaying Min on that climb home. We said Alboon Photo, the Triumph, I don't know, but there will be great races here all week, and I can't wait for it.
So the race is won and you've got to receive the roar of the crowd. Just tell me, once you cross the line at the top, what happens next?
Oh sure, photographers, usually was Channel 4, now ITV cameraman for an interview. Grooms will appear, whoever looks after the horse, and then the walk back down, and it is a fabulous walk back down, and it does depend on the races too, Lydia. You come back down on Briar Hill 25-1, having won the Cheltenham bumper, the crowd is starting to leave, you're getting a gentle quiet round of applause. you turn down there on Cawdor Star, favourite in the Gold Cup, and the whole place is erupting, or a well-backed favourite in the Supreme, and you can feel the crowd. You've a couple of times, even when you've ridden a couple of winners, and you know that every fella that's had a bet is on you, and the Guinness Village comes alive as you're round the bend here. It is incredible. It's enjoyable.
What's your most memorable moment then?
Definitely coming down on Cawdor, but I'd say Annie Power as well.
Why?
Just, it did mean a lot. I walked down here after she fell, and it was a lonely walk, and to come back down when she won the champion hurdle, I was proud of that.
And emotional? When were you most emotional, do you think, as you're walking down here? Does that happen?
Probably leading Comanche Court. When he won the Triumph hurdle with Norman Williamson riding him. That was a day, like Dad training a winner. I was only 16, I led him up. I stood down there with Ted.
So, fantastic memories. I mean, this place, it must be incredible to have achieved what you've achieved here, and to have all of these images going through your mind about what you've done.
You're trying to pick one out, or one over another. Like, I had so many good days here that outnumbered the bad, and the worst day wasn't even the worst day was when that red helicopter left with John Thomas. But I mean, that's a magic place. So
that's the end of our Road to Cheltenham special. Do you think? I'm being genuine here. I've certainly learned something about the two tracks, because we talk about it rationally about what the differences are, and I repeat it, but now I feel like I understand a little bit more, so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. I just wish I'd wore wellies.
Yeah, feet feelings get a bit cold. That's it from us. Goodbye from the Road to Cheltenham. I hope you enjoyed this special.
We're back on Monday for about a 4-hour special if you have your way.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point that you remember that. Join us on Monday, because the eve of the Cheltenham Festival, we've got an extra bumper edition of the Road to Cheltenham, but I hope you enjoyed the benefit of Ruby Walsh's expertise on this particular road.
I enjoyed my walk too, Lydia.
It was great. We walked for miles and miles.
Mm-hmm.